Everyone, please try to settle yourself. My advice would be to squeeze towards the center as much as possible, because otherwise those who come late, they will be practically left outside. So if you can come a little inward, that would be really helpful. Please keep going inward. Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. How are you all doing? Do you feel energized after yoga? Yes? All right, very good. So we are very fortunate. Tonight we have a special guest, His Holiness Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. He had been traveling all around the world for quite a number of years. In his own practice, he had been maturing the process of Bhakti Yoga for over 35 years. It's a big number. And he comes from an academic background. He has a PhD in management and decision sciences. So you can see that he would be really expert in helping you manage your decision space. And then he has over 35 publications. He's particularly adept at connecting with the youth in his bringing down the philosophy at the wavelength that you all can understand. And tonight we also have a very pertinent topic. What's the topic today? Yeah, you know, okay, great. So so he's going to share an unconventional secret in how we can achieve any goal in life. Okay, so let's pay our ardent, undivided attention to what he has to say. So let's give a
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we are in the first quarter of the year. Every new year ushers in an opportunity for us to initiate a change in our life, whether it's academic, economic development, social, culture. The new year comes with change initiatives. But according to research, most of these change initiatives fail. About 35% of the change initiatives fail. So yeah, we may have a very lofty goal, and the essential point is how to be able to achieve that goal. Even when that goal is achieved, how to sustain that achievement or to improve, to continue to improve on it. So I'll give you an example. Suppose you want to become the governor of Massachusetts, or I want to become the president of the United States. These are very positive goals. Or you want to, excel in academics, you are targeting 4.0 as your grade point. Point of graduation, you want to get 4.0. Lofty idea, lofty goal. There are also situations where someone is doing their PhD, and I know some of my students, they're doing their PhD, and especially the girls, they said, Maharaja, I'm finishing my PhD. Where is husband? So these are essential needs. And the reality of the day is that we are human beings and we have to set goals. If we're not setting goals, it means that we are deliberately attempting to fail. Because according to setting goal theorists, and this setting goal basically was initially initiated by Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin is a German psychologist. In fact, he also developed the field theory in 1938. And for the goal setting theory, Kurt Lewin is the first scholar who initiated an attempt to develop a theory on goal setting. And then it was refined, refurbished, and put in a very nice and practical way to implement by Locke. So this is how theories get evolving in academia. One person brings up some idea, and other scholars, they have to critique and find some fault in it. Then they have to make some amends, refine it. So this is exactly how also the field theory, the goal setting theory evolved. But essentially, the goal setting theory is about the fact that when we set high goals, we have an advantage of a greater performance than simply saying, I do my best. I do my best is very ambiguous. And therefore, it is important for us as students, especially, you have to set stretched goals. Stretched goals means that you have at the back of your mind that you want to at least say you're doing undergraduate studies and you want to get a GPA that will enable you to go to graduate school, to go to do a master's program or an integrated doctoral program. You have to set really what we call stretch goal. Instead of going at the level that every other student, most of the students, they are just aspiring to graduate from their bachelor's and, to hell with schooling. It's all over. Go get a job, do smart. I was speaking with one girl just yesterday, and then I said, so you graduated from Harvard? She said, yes. Good luck for you. Congratulations. What's your next point? You going to graduate school? She said, no, I'm not going to any graduate school. No graduate school. Some people, they have this. But if you are aspiring to go further for an undergraduate student, you have to set high, lofty goals so that if even you're not able to attain that high, lofty goal, at least you get close to it. And based on your performance, based on your intensity of studies, you'll be able to go higher than the average student. You may not attain that lofty goal that you set for yourself, but you'll be able to go higher than the average student. That is called stretch goals. Now, in all of these phenomena about goal setting and high performance to be able to accomplish your objectives or your objective criteria, there is a fundamental factor that is discernible. We observe that even those who set stretch goals or high goals, sometimes they suffer setbacks. It's not a calculated attempt to suffer the setback. But we understand that, especially from the Vedic literature, we understand that there are endogenous and exogenous factors that militate against our lofty goals achievement. Endogenous factors are those elements which are within the body, within us. In other words, they are intrinsic factors. And, for those who are students of Vedic literature, it's very observable that we are impacted by what we call the material modes of nature. There's a mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. And for one who is aspiring, one who is interested in learning, they are under the auspice of the mode of goodness. So they always want to aspire to, to go high, and then they are also very much compassionately disposed to other people, to less privileged and their peers. They want to help their peers. There are those who are just happy seeing the miseries of others. They are under the influence of the mode of ignorance. And there are those who are just really after their own achievements. And of course, also to exploit the resources of material nature. Those people are under the auspices of the mode of passion. And all of these three categories of people, they set goals. The person in the mode of ignorance may set goals that are not going to be people-oriented. Because if your goal is to see someone, to give you want to feel happy seeing the suffering of other people, that's not a people-oriented mindset. But there are people like that. I remember one of my professors, when we are in the doctoral program, so this professor was teaching quantitative reasoning and analysis, doctoral level statistics. And he assured the students that most of you will fail this course. So what will he gain from that? It will just give him pleasure. So yeah, someone may be in a high profile position that he could be affected by the mode of ignorance. And so essentially, we can actually elevate our consciousness and transcend these lower modes, mode of ignorance and mode of passion, and come to the level of transcendental, even come to the level of transcendental goodness, where your goals and aspirations are geared towards leveraging society to be able to reinvent and recreate a future that is favorable for all and sundry. And therefore, you're struggling, you're working hard. For instance, if you're a student and you understand that your parents, you have an expectation from your family, you will not just be involved in selfish activities or activities that are geared towards immediate gratification. Because the whole idea of college education is also about delayed gratification. Because if you achieve your goal, if you graduate with high GPA, then, the sky will be the limit of your successful adventures. And so, what do we do to be able to clear up the endogenous and exogenous factors which may impair or impede our attempts in achieving our goals? I just mentioned one of those endogenous factors or intrinsic factors, the gunas. But there are also other factors that are affecting us in terms of our decision-making, in terms of setting our goals and prosecuting those goals. And one of them is lust. Lust means that we are intensely involved in prosecuting things that are not going to ultimately help us. I'll give you an example. So you're on college campus, and there are there are all facilities for for immediate gratification. The intelligent student will be thinking, at the end of my 4 or 5 years program, will my parents ask me about what I am doing now? Or they will ask me, hey, John, what is your grade? They will ask you, hey, John, what is your grade? And so if you have that at the back of your mind, you will set your goals in such a way that you don't become distracted by the allurements of college campus culture. And therefore, it is important that you don't forget why you are here. If you forget even for a moment, you could be distracted. Therefore, your goals, you have to constantly remind yourself about the goals you have set for yourself for excellence. And the idea should not be just to survive or just to pass or just to graduate. No, people who are high achievers, they don't think like that. They think high. One of very prominent teachers, his name is Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. He said, if you want to hunt, go for a rhino. That is, again, stretch goal. A rhino, it's very difficult to kill a rhino, okay? If you don't kill the rhino, if you're not successful, people will say that it's a rhino anyway. You couldn't have killed it. But people know that, yeah, you went for the highest. So the point here is that what are the things that will facilitate strong or high willpower for us to be able to prosecute our high goals? Because at the end of the day, we'll find out sometimes we are willing to do something, but then the body is weak. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. I'll give you a typical example. You're supposed to you have set a timetable for yourself. This time, 4 o'clock, I'm supposed to get up to go and read. And the alarm rang, and your spirit, you're willing to wake up, but then the body seems to be weighing down. Maybe you ate very late the previous night, or something happened. And so that affects your whole system. Because even the eating late in the night could be detrimental to your academic prosecution. Because when you eat and the time for digestion, energy is drawn from the brain. And that is why people get weak after eating. And so for you to be able to achieve your goals at the precise time that you want to be able to do that, there are so many things you need to put into the equation. But all those things, despite your strategies, you need something of utmost importance, that is high willpower. High willpower is the fulcrum of self-control. I mean, it's like someone who sets a timetable to be able to effectively manage their 24 hours. Now, you get a phone call comes in when you're reading, and unscheduled call. You pick the call, and then the talk goes on for 2 hours. By the time you drop the call, you start regretting, oh, I wasted my time for my reading. Low willpower. Low willpower. And see, if you analyze this concept or this phenomenon of willpower, that is the cause. Low willpower is ultimately the cause of the downfall of majority of people, high achievers on the planet. I'll give you a typical example. The 10th director for International Monetary Fund, Strauss-Kahn, he had a bit of a wife in France. He had a good degree in economics. He came to New York, and he got attracted to a maid in the hotel. He was arrested and jailed. He served jail term at Rikers Island jail. This is somebody, and he lost his job. So here, he went to jail, he lost his job. It's a typical case of some situation we can relate with. This is not something abstract. We can see how this low willpower, which is the cause, the fundamental principle responsible for the downfall of even the high achievers. Remember, I mentioned earlier that if even you achieve your goals, to be able to sustain that achievement could be a problem if you don't have strong or high willpower. So the question comes, how we are just youngsters coming up, how do we develop that willpower? How do we develop that willpower? You want to know how to develop the willpower? Because see, you could be even the governor of this state. And see, one of the past governor of New York, Cuomo, I love that guy. He worked so hard during the COVID. You know how he lost his job, right? You know how he lost his job? You don't know? You're not in America here? Cuomo, the past governor of New York, he was the governor before Hochul took over. Hochul was his deputy. There were reports by some of his workers of sexual harassment. Now, the state Congress threatened to impeach him, and so he has to resign. That's how he resigned. I felt pity for that guy. And there's so many of the like minds in America. See, you can do this type of, you may not be victimized by dint of your weak willpower in developing countries, but here in America, oh, we all have this problem. But once you're a leader, it's like you have to be different from me. You must have that high willpower. Otherwise, you know, how dare you come in to control me? You're young boys and girls. You are the future leaders of this nation. What would you do to protect yourself from being victimized by these circumstances? What will you do to not be a statistics? If we hear it, I mean, oh, we think it's Cuomo, but it could happen to me. What do I have in place to be able to protect myself? I got a good news for you. And one of those very aspects of the good news is that researchers have come up with reports that sonic therapeutic intervention helps to promote willpower, helps to promote self-control. And look, the general theory of crime, in criminology, we have what is called the general theory of crime. It was propounded by two criminologists, Gottfriedson and Hitchie, in 1990. They came up with this lofty idea, lofty principle that all crimes and antisocial behavior are due to low self-control. In other words, if you have low self-control, means your willpower is completely almost zero. That's why you have low, you can't control yourself. And many people have been victims of this. I remember the case of this school teacher, Mary Kay. You heard of Mary Kay's case? No? She's late now. She's just died recently of cancer. She's from Seattle. Her father was a professor. She did a degree in teaching. She was teaching. She was having an affair with a 12-year-old student. She was married at the time with 3 kids. That is the most beautiful lady I've ever seen on this planet. Long neck, beautiful face. But you know what? Low willpower. She was victimized by low willpower. And even when she was arrested for statutory rape, when you have an affair with someone less than 18 years old in this country, it's called statutory rape. They may give you their consent, but by law, no, you're not supposed to do it. But people If you Google on the web, you find cases like that, statutory rape. But there's so many cases. Acquiring your skills, get a good job, but you end up going to jail. And even Medicaid's case, when she was released on probation, again, she had sex with the boy. In fact, she gave birth to her first child with this boy, 12 years old, when she was put in prison. And then the second child, when she was put to prison the second time, seven years. So we think this is just too bizarre. What do I do to protect myself from low willpower, from low self-control? That is the message we have been distributing to all and sundry. I call it sonic therapeutic intervention. Practitioners of spirituality, they call it mantra meditation. But most cases, I know most of my colleagues, management scientists, my colleagues, they don't believe in God. Most of them don't believe in God. So you can't really bring up something about God. But the point is that these have been proven scientifically, researches have been conducted. In fact, sonic therapeutic intervention not only helps in promoting high willpower and high self-control, it is also been proven through scientific research that it facilitates the mitigation of anger, stress, anxiety, and depression. In fact, one a scholar at the University of Florida State University, he conducted his PhD dissertation on this very topic. And he came up with the proof that the chanting of the Krishna mantra helps to mitigate anxiety, stress, and depression. So we're talking about, institutions and values that we need to uphold, but in most cases, we don't have the power to do that. So we have to strategize. We have to adopt different ways to be able to help to sustain our ethical values and to promote a culture of national coherence. So, any comments or questions on this point? Just one, just your questions.
There are some questions that some of you also posted at the time of registration. You might want to repeat some of those questions. Right?
Yeah, we got some of your questions, but you can repeat so that everyone can benefit.
You have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So it is usually, we are often told that, being spiritual, we are souls, and I might go a bit
Sure. Go ahead.
divert from the topic, but
Go ahead.
so that we are souls, that our body just passes away, but still, why do we feel very bad or maybe grief and all when our loved ones, there is a demise of our loved ones or something like that?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Okay, there's a concept in the Bhagavad Purana. It's mentioned, Pashena Pina Prashate. Even after seeing, even after hearing, we act the contrary. Yeah, so we may know that we are not these bodies. My mother is not a body. My father is not a body. But when there's demise, we couldn't hold our emotions. We couldn't contain the emotions. It's because of our conditioning. There was this psychologist who developed this conditioning theory. He locked up a dog in a cage, and then we bring food, we ring the bell, open the cage, measure the salivation rate of the dog, and he did that. But then at some point, he just rang the bell, no food. If measure the salivation rate of the dog was salivated, if even there was no physical food. That is called conditioning or para-conditioning. So we are also conditioned. Our real identity is that we are spirit souls, but we have been conditioned in these bodies, so we tend to think that we are the bodies. So even when we know that we are not these bodies, we tend to act as if we are the bodies. It's called conditioning. We can unlearn that through regular practice in Bhakti Yoga. Through regular, if we become practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, which begins with hearing and chanting of the divine holy names, we can become extricated from that type of mentality. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Theoretically speaking, no, I mean, it's not really going to give you any beneficial results. We will fall victim of that. Yeah, so it's a nice point to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. A few weeks ago, I read a book. Like in that state, there was a statement which stated that we are human beings on a spiritual journey. So we are not human beings on a spiritual journey, but we are spiritual beings on a human journey. And the reference was given Bhagavad Gita. So can you just explain it in short?
Yeah. Okay. Here we are. Okay, for instance, a child is born, then they grow from child to youth to adult to old age. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, the literature, the classical literature referring to which is a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna, between Krishna and Arjuna. And there, Lord Krishna explains the point of this, the change of bodies. Change is a constant. The variable is the object of change. So we keep changing. Even the trees, they change their bodies. And essentially, if we understand our real nature, that we are spirit souls, characterized by eternity, bliss, and knowledge, Sat, Chit, Ananda. And that spirit soul is being carried by the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. And this physical garment we are looking at is the gross body, which is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. See, when we go to bed in our dream state, we find ourselves, we may be in Michigan here, we may be in Northeastern, we find ourselves sometimes in a dream in New York, or in London, or in India. What is that? You wake up and you find yourself on the bed. It shows that there are different dimensions that we are dealing with. So yeah, the spirit soul is just transmigrating from one stage of existence to the other. It's mentioned, Krishna mentions in the Gita, Dehi knows me, yata dehe, kumara, yavanamjara, tata dehantara prakti, dhira stat namuyat. Now, for the dhira, the sober, spiritually sober, intelligent soul, he's not bewildered by these changes. He understands that, and during old age, eventually the soul will leave this body, take up another form of existence. Of course, if we attain perfection, we don't need to change bodies. We go back home, straight back to God in a spiritual abode, spiritual world. Yeah, that's a nice point you raised. Thank you.
For the good of everyone, I would just like to tell that the name of the book is The Spiritual Intelligence is the Ultimate Intelligence. And the writers are Ian Marshall, and the co-authored is Dana Zohar. So like everyone can read that book. It's a nice book. Thank you.
You can email me that reference. I can share with the group.
Yeah, sure.
Any other comments? We've got a number of comments. Encourage them to raise those questions.
Amma, you have a question.
Feel free to ask your questions, especially those who have sent their questions already.
Hare Krishna. So I think I entered and you were talking more about willpower, self-control, and how even the greatest of the greats, they've had their downfall because of loss of willpower. And you don't just see it in America, but you see it all throughout human history, right? As someone who is young, 19 years old, just figuring out their way right now in the world, I've seen that I'm someone who, you know, even if I try to make certain promises to myself, I end up breaking them. And I feel that internally it is from a lack of self-discipline, um, and self-control. So I think very basic question, how can I aim to, I think, maybe heal myself in a way that I can regain and sustain the willpower and practice self-control and self-discipline every day so that I don't make the same mistakes again and again and again.
Thank you very much. That's a very insightful question. Now, when we set goals for ourselves and then we're not able to meet that goal, or we break the promise we give to ourselves, we should not kill ourselves. It's called, in research, we have what we call general problem and a specific problem. Question is this something that a majority of people are experiencing? Yes. So we are not alone. But it doesn't mean that because majority of people are experiencing it and then I should not feel concerned how to rectify myself. No, we need to take initiative to move forward and be different positively, to be a role model for others. So yeah, what you could do and what anyone else could do also is to be a practitioner in this mental meditation. I guarantee you, see, perhaps I had worse situation than you. But you know what? When I took up this process of sonic, like I call it sonic therapeutic intervention, or other people call it mental meditation, specifically in our tradition, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is a very powerful name, proven to be very much pro mental health improvement. Pro mental health improvement. And one of those things that creates a setback in our lives is mental health challenges. Sometimes mental health is like stigmatized. And so people don't even report. People won't tell their parents why they're passing through. I asked one boy that when I was in India, one of my young friends, the mom is a scientist. So the mom came to entrust him into my care. And he was having some challenges. He said these challenges have been there right from when he was like in his maybe 10 years or 11 years or so. I said, did you speak with your mom? He said, no. I said, why? he said they will panic. Yeah. So back to your point. We can overcome all of these things by becoming practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, which begins with the chanting of Krishna's holy names. I have the lived experience. And lived experience is so important in research, in academia. Lived experience having to do with hermeneutics. That is a valued evidence. One may say, but that is something that could be said to be impository. No, your lived experience is a valid evidence, even in court. And therefore, we have to understand that there are processes that have been laid down. I'll give you a typical example. Now, I had a terrible health challenge. I had a liver cirrhosis and hepatitis C. I got hepatitis C through blood transfusion. I had a terrible accident, 1990. I had a terrible accident when I was still serving in Africa. And I had my bladder fractured, pelvic bone broken, so many bones broken. I was taken to the hospital. It required major surgeries. I was not having sufficient blood. Some of my friends came forward to donate blood. One of those guys had liver infection. At that time, they were not having scientific instruments to check for liver infections such as hepatitis C. So that's how I got hepatitis C. When I got it, after a decade or so have passed, or 2 decades before the symptoms started, springing up. At that time, there is no medication for hepatitis C. It was a silent killer. To cut matters short, I was on the death row waiting. And then it escalated to liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis, grade 4. Like grade 4, from there you go to cancer. And with you got cancer, you be looking forward to kiss the lotus feet of Yamaraj. I don't wish that. But we're just being practical. But you know what? When medications were out for this hepatitis C, I got treated, but liver cirrhosis, no allopathic cure. I was in India. One of my mentees, she is an ophthalmologist, young doctor. She took me to a friend, an Ayurvedic doctor, who started administering some Ayurvedic medicines to me. I thought it was a joke. But you know what? Today I can tell you, reports said, for some years ago, reports said no cirrhosis. It was going gradually from grade 4 to grade 3. Then the next time we checked was between 0 and 1. My point is, there are solutions to our problems. We may not know. We may not know. We should search out. We should seek out. So here you raise an issue. That issue could be addressed. Just embark on this meditation process, this sonic therapeutic activation, this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So many people have been transformed. Even hippies in this country were transformed to happies and Goswamis. Oh yeah. So I know when I go to meet my hepatologist, the only thing that he will say in response to my liver cirrhosis situation is, he will say, because you're a spiritual guy, that's why. But I will tell him, look, I was in India and I got someone treated this. You guys don't have the medication for this problem, except for, liver transfer. Yeah. So there are situations that we can address. It's a matter of sharing our challenges with somebody who might know the source of the resolving that very situation. So thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes. Any other comments or questions? Encourage your boys to ask the
The
question.
food is coming, by the way. Okay? So don't think that I lied, okay? It's just getting the plates are getting prepared and they're going to pass on. So please feel free to ask questions. There were like 9 or 10 questions on
Yeah, there were a lot of nice, very insightful questions that we received. But we want you to repeat, say it so that your colleagues, your friends
Don't have, I
can
can also
benefit.
read, but
Yeah.
it would be better if it comes from you.
I had a question.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, how do you stay in the present? Because the mind is constantly oscillating between the past and the future. So how do you stick to the present?
Yeah, that's a nice question. The mind is characterized as Vikalpa and Sankalpa, or Sankalpa and Vikalpa. Accepting one thing now, rejecting that same thing the next moment. I love this person. Oh, so much. The next moment, I hate you. So, how to live in the present? By cultivating a culture of the presence. The presence culture can only be achieved through a higher dimensional process. We have these bodies, we have these material bodies, and these bodies are subject to change. Okay, the mind, which is also giving us a lot of trouble, is very obstinate, very stubborn. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes the mind as stubborn, obstinate. It's like a child, you say, hey, Joe, sit. If you tell a 2-year-old child, hey, Joe, sit down there, that is the exact time they will get up. Just to show you that I defy your instructions. The mind is like that. And so, this is a problem. I remember when we are kids, like in my early teenage life, we had this celebrity who debuted an album, and one of the track was the hit track was titled "Follow My Mind." Have you heard of Jimmy Cliff? Some of you? No. Okay. Jimmy Cliff, you could Google on the web, "Follow My Mind," and you see the lyrics, what this guy was talking about. We loved that lyrics when we were kids. Woo. He was our guru. And what was the lyrics? He says, follow your mind. Whatever your mind tells you, just follow. You will always be right. Just follow your mind. We thought, wow, amazing. Whatever my mind tells me, I'll do follow. Great. But then when I encountered the Vedic teachings, it's completely the opposite. If you want to suffer, follow the instructions of your mind. If you want to suffer, follow the instructions of your senses. This is how people go to jail. And the Mary case, even she was arrested, and journalists came interviewing, said that you know that that was a rape case. He said, I don't care. If loving, the boy's name is Billy, if loving Billy is a crime, I'm ready to go to jail. Yeah. She was 34 years at the time. Okay? Married with 3 kids. So she lost her husband, lost custody of her kids. She sat jailed twice. The mind, we cannot subscribe to the dictates of the mind if we want to maintain sanity in our lives. So we can live in the present when we embark on some activity that will help us to purge the impurities of the mind. And that, again, it boils down to this very concept of a process which can improve our mental health values and physical sense of belonging. And that is the proven factor here is, again, sonic therapeutic activation or the mantra meditation. Have you tried that? Yeah. You should continue. Because it is sometimes, we complain that, but I'm doing this and I'm not getting the ruchi, I'm not getting the taste. You should continue. It's a process. We come to a level where we get that taste. Yes, any other comments or questions?
See, if you are not going to ask questions, I'm going to ask questions, okay? Please feel free to ask. There is back there.
Okay. Yes, please. Will you get there?
We'll go.
Would you mind coming here? Maybe she come forward. He can come forward.
I had a question, but I forgot. It's in the form.
You're formulating the question?
No. I actually submitted with the question. I don't recollect it.
Okay, it's in the form. Okay, I can put it on.
Please.
Namaste. Prabhuji, as you said earlier, all the happiness in the person is that when you see suffering in others. So a sense of satisfaction comes into our mind when we feel that, oh, I'm in a better place than him. So what is satisfaction really? Is it like a hierarchy or a dominance, or we should think about something love? And every time and every moment, there will be some sort of hithering and thithering in the mind and in the heart that we have to do something. If we achieve something also, okay, they are doing better than us. So this continuously goes. What is the end point? What is a full stop, then comma?
Thank you. Yeah, well, when we come to a particular stage in our spiritual or transcendental cultural pursuits or transcendental cultural development, we are happy that we are helping to motivate others to grow. And that means that we are seeing the world with a bigger picture on a bigger picture level, because on a microscopic phase, we're just thinking about ourselves, how we are the center of the world and everything should revolve around us. But we could actually go beyond that, and that will give us satisfaction instead of satiation. There are two things: satiation and satisfaction. If I eat, I may be very hungry. I eat, and then in my belly, my stomach is full. I'm full. But after 2 hours, I'll be hungry again. Digestion takes place. You know, the stomach will be inviting, but there'll be symptoms of hunger again. So that basically is actually satiation, not satisfaction. Satisfaction means we are contented with what we have. We are happy with what we have. We are happy to see the growth of others. And that is an ethical value. It's a value-based conception, value-based phenomenon. If we don't have the values, we may be thinking about how we can be superior to everyone else in the universe. But you see, the higher you go, the cooler you could become. I'll give you an example. So, Oxy, I have a PhD, but I have friends who have 3 PhDs. So why should make me to be proud? Automatically, I should be humble when I'm talking to people. Because some of my friends have 3 PhDs. So we should always think that there must be somebody always superior to us. And the point comes where we can have that fulfillment when we think of ourselves as servants. And indeed, we are all engaged in serving humanity. Even the breadwinner at home thinks that he or she is the controller, but they are serving the whole family. But then the intelligent breadwinner is just satisfied that he or she is able to provide for the family. That's how it works. Understanding that, for instance, the family is a microcosm of the society of the nation. So if you serve your family nicely, you are helping to improve the values of society. If you're abusive to your family members, abusive to your spouse or to your children, you're not really helping to create or to reinvent social structure that is devoid of abuse. You are instrumental to the degradation of society. So it's a matter of having that higher understanding and living according to what you can really help in creating a viable future. And, nature also makes the provisions for those who are helping others to grow. Any other points? To some of this.
Hi. So I had a question with regards to what you mentioned on virtue and things being ethics-based. It's commonly associated that ancient cultures come from virtue ethics. So ethics that's based on like your internal telos and acting based on the common growth of, say, wanting to like attain good, like you said before. Is it also the case where there could be other ethical frameworks that are also associated with like ancient traditions, say like deontology or utilitarianism or those are the kinds, or is it sort of like virtue that carries the base to most ethical frameworks?
Yeah, thank you. See, traditionally, ethicality in itself is not the goal of life. Because the goal of life is to develop love for divinity. And that love for divinity permeates the whole of the cosmic creation. I mean, the analogy is given, watering the root of the tree, and the whole branches, the twigs, the fruits, the leaves, everything flourishes. But when I'm talking about ethicality, some of the people who even profess to be ethical, I remember the case of somebody who went to borrow a book from the library. And he's an ethicist. Okay. He preaches it, he teaches it in an Ivy League. But then he collected the book from the library, he refused to return the book at the prescribed time. So that violates the rules of ethics. And therefore, ethics in itself is not the ultimate goal of life. But if we go beyond ethics and understand that the ethical values are coming from a source, and we have to figure out what is that source. How am I going to take shelter of that source? That is the real thing that can give us a wholesome fulfillment. Therefore, yes, everything that you talked about, yeah, they're emanating from the Asian culture. But the cultural norms alone are not valued methodologies for attaining sustainable happiness. You have to talk about what is beyond the cultural norms. The person from whom all of these cultures, all of these traditions are emanating from. And what does this person want? He wants our love, because he also reciprocates according to the love that we repose in him. So sometimes we find ourselves, deficient in particular ways. And like on this planet, we are looking for love. But sometimes we put our adventures for seeking love in the wrong places. And then we get some serious setbacks. And then we think otherwise. What? So yeah, everything is essential for our growth, but how we use those very elements is what really matters. We use those elements to spread love, or we use those elements for selfish motivation. Yeah. Thank you. It's a nice point to raise. Any other point? Any other person? Yes, this way.
He had a question.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
You can move forward a little bit so that.
So I think this is something that most of the students might have. We live in a very materialistic world. So with looking at the current job market, and as an international student, a lot of worries that especially students from India typically have issues about the future job security, and then how will they like manage their expenses, because most of them have taken loans. So how do I look forward to spirituality to address this and at least find that hope that things might get better? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, what happens is that if you are endeavoring, you are on a journey you're on an educational journey, you're studying, rest assured, if you focus on your studies and try to excel in your studies, your future is very bright. Your job opportunities could be very much, bright compared to others who are just struggling to pass exams. The idea is to be able to excel. I know some of these Ivy Leagues. The time that these undergrads are graduating, the recruiters, they are there searching for them, recruiting them before even they graduate. When you excel in your studies, job market, you will be a demand in a job market. You try to excel in your study, you will be a demand in the job market. Okay?
Thank you.
And also, the more skills you have, the greater opportunities for job absorption, and less job you do, less work you do. With a first degree, the employers may work the ass out of you. I may not pay you much. With higher degrees, I remember I went to Ohio. One of my friends who hosted me, he had 3 masters. So I was chastising him that, hey, why you have to waste your time for all these 3 masters? He said, Maharaj, all these 3 masters are connected to my job. Now they made me a director. And so I don't really have to go to work. And I just keep staying in my house and make phone calls and tell them, go to this country, or go to this state, or go to there. So I said, okay, you're a smart boy. You have to look at what is relevant to your area of specialization and try to make sure that you keep improving on those ideals so that you can get a leverage. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. I have one question. Like in the Sri Krishna in the Gita says like the karma binds us. So karma, like I have one question. Like without getting binded from our karmas, so how can we do the karma without getting attached to the outcome of that karma?
Thank you. Yeah, the material world is designed in such a way that we're caught up with attachments to the fruits of our results, or the results of our fruits. We are attached to the outcome of our labor. So if we are attached, then we will also be responsible for the reactions. That is the fruit. That is the karma. But if we are doing the service and we understand that Krishna is the prowess in us, he is the power in us, then that ego that to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge, as far as I know, I wouldn't be there. And then we will not be entangled in that process, in that so-called attachment. Attachment comes when we are identifying when there's a problem with misidentification. I call it identity crisis. When we have identity crisis, attachment will come. And when we have identity crisis, we will discriminate. When we have identity crisis, we will do things, we will be grinning. To use that gross word. Yeah. So essentially, what is causing so much of friction in society and what is causing so much of our bondage on this planet is the identity crisis. Once we understand and implement those basic ideas that Mama, Lord Krishna mentioned in the Gita, Mama evam so jiva loke, jiva putusanata, that we are his parts and parcels. Now, even our power is coming from him. Our intelligence is coming from him. We do everything in his honor, in his service. Yeah. You're welcome.
You had a question? Anybody else has any question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just have a question related to so me especially, I notice that I have a problem with like wanting to see results immediately. So I take on a task and then I need to like see the fruitful outcome as soon as possible, or else like my mind starts thinking, is it really worth still continuing to put the effort in without seeing the fruits of the labor, and then going back to that mindset? So how do we kind of detach from that? And logically it makes sense. The fruits of our labor now will pay off later, but in the mind it's you want to see it play out soon.
Sure.
So how do you?
Yeah, that's not a very powerful point. I was in Portland, and my host is a medical doctor, cancer doctor. They had himself and the wife, they had a daughter. At the time, the girl was 16 years old. So the complaint from the mother of the girl was that she stopped practicing chanting. And so she was in anxiety that by the time she goes to college, she may run into problems of controlling senses and become a victim of circumstance, social victim. And so she wanted me to speak to Dora to encourage her to go back to the practice of chanting and sadhana. One of the things I got from the girl was that she stopped chanting because she said because she was not having any taste. So I asked him, the mom was sitting by the corner. So I asked her that, do you have any taste in going to school? The mother busted out laughing. So I said, hey, Mataji, why are you laughing? You said I should speak to your daughter, and now we're talking, you're laughing. She said, oh, Maharaj, you hit the nail right on the head. I said, explain what you mean. She said that each time this girl comes back from school, she will go straight to her room and chastise her. Hey, mom, you just sent me to school to go and suffer. You are here sleeping and eating. She would say, hey, daughter, if I didn't go to school, will your father, who is a medical doctor, come to marry me? She said that's why she was laughing, because this is what this girl has been doing to her. So I told this girl that, look, listen, she said she didn't have taste in going to school. That's what she told the 16-year-old girl. I said, good. I didn't also have taste in going to school. But she said she's going to school because of her future. I said, good. This chanting, you may not have the taste now. In the future, you will have the taste. You will enjoy the results. So move on. Don't worry. Taste will come, results will come. So we should understand that, yes, the future will have the results, just like in education, we may do a degree program of 4 or 5 years, but the degree doesn't just come overnight. We endeavor. So we could use that as a correlation. That is called theoretical knowledge, theoretical analysis. We could use that analysis to give us some sense of comfort. The other point is that when we are engaged in the intervention, this sonic intervention, this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, it gives us a lot of purification, that we shed all these negative thought patterns, and we can become stabilized in prosecuting our goal. Yeah. Any last comment or questions?
Good evening, Prabhuji. My question is how to handle anxiety or like stressful situations. For example, if something doesn't go as we wanted, or like if there's like a last minute stress, if you are submitting something and there's only 10 minutes left, then like I normally get a lot stressed up and I don't utilize that time very well. But normally I see other people who are like calm in those situations and they'll be able to think clearly and maybe figure out some solution. But I mostly realize after it's done that I could have done this better had I been more calm in that situation. So how to stay calm when you are like in anxiety?
All right, thank you very much. It's another insightful question. Now, we should undergo self-diagnosis all the time to see our weaknesses. If our weakness is that we are not good at dealing with crisis or to deal with the situation, a die-minute situation, we should do that same thing far ahead of time. Like I tell my students, see, from the day you graduate, from the day you register as a student of this university, study as if the exam is tomorrow. Study as if the exam is tomorrow. When you go with that pace, at the time during the exam period, other people will be in anxiety. You'll be relaxing and laughing and playing around. They will be thinking, this exam period, she is not serious with her studies. So you have backed up everything already. You are ready to go into the exam to write. So, emergency consciousness in your educational pursuit will solve that problem. You don't wait. If the professor gives you an assignment, just get it done right that day. He says, in 3 days' time, submit it. Do it today and submit it today. The next 2 days, get engaged in some other things. Don't waste time. And see, we have the tendency to hang out with people, hang out with other students. I also was doing that a lot, but I remember when we were in high school, we were living in a dormitory, away from parents. 13 years old, you're away from parents. What's your future? But some of us, we are very determined, even at that age. We don't play around. We don't play around. We may play around, but in the night, we don't sleep. Reading. So don't waste your time with anybody. Don't make unnecessary comparisons. What you need to do is to have an emergency consciousness in your educational prosecution. You give an assignment, you know you have a weakness of not getting things done at the dying moment, at the last minute, get it done ahead of time. You give an assignment, do it right away so that you don't get into that problem. we have our nature and nurture. Sometimes, Lord Krishna mentioned in the Gita that it's very difficult to do away with our nature. So if we understand our weakness, we should avoid getting into challenges based on our weakness.
Looks like everyone is charged with questions. Last
Like-
question.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's too much pressure. No, again, I think based on the last thing you said. So can we interpret it as, whatever bad habits we have, and we know that, okay, this certain instance or experience is a trigger for my bad habit. So just try to avoid the trigger itself.
Sure, avoid it trigger. It's because it also, I mean, it's like a stressor, this is your stressor. Why you have to go close to it? If no fire burns, why you put your hand on the fire? Yeah.
And like coming back to what I had asked about willpower and self-control, how can we incorporate this kind of theory and idea of avoiding your triggers about bad habits with willpower and
Yeah.
self-control?
Yeah. See, when we consciously make efforts, this is it. Consciously making efforts and also making prayers for divine intervention, it saves a lot of trouble. It saves a lot of trouble. I'll give you an example. So when I was engaged in a doctoral program, we had this quantitative reasoning analysis. Statistics, PhD level statistics, it was so difficult. We had 10 students, PhD students who did that course. But because it was so difficult, everybody failed. I was the only person who passed that course. But you know what? Each time I want to read those statistics textbooks, I will pray to Krishna. I said, my Lord, please, I don't know anything about statistics. It's been years. It's been years I taught statistics class. Please help me. I am helpless. Please help me. I did that every time I want to read the literature. And I went around reading it repeatedly. And then the so-called difficult thing became like something in my palm. I was the only person who passed that course at that sitting. And I got 90 plus. So praying for a divine intervention, I can vouch for it. It works. Make your efforts, but understand that there are superior powers, there are superior beings, and beg for intervention. Make your conscious efforts. Conscious efforts is not enough. We need some higher help. Yeah. Sure.
Excellent. That was a wonderful, wonderful session. So let's give a big. I'm sure you got many, many tips for becoming successful in your academic studies. I would like to ask you, so what is the key takeaway? So what is that unconventional secret to fulfilling all goals in life? So what is that? Just wanted to. Can I have your attention, please? No? Yes.
To be self-control.
To have self-control. Very good. To our willpower, right? So how do we get that? Huh? Mantra meditation. Excellent job. So sonic therapeutic intervention. That was such a wonderful word. And believe it or not, we are actually having the mantra meditation every morning at 6:30. And there are close to about 28 students who are actually participating in the mantra meditation practice on and off. So we generally start with some journaling exercise at 6:30. We share some inspiration, and then we go into 108 times chanting of the Maha Mantra that Maharaj was referring to. Without my speaking anything, maybe I can invite one of the practitioners or one of the participants to share their experience, just so that others may feel motivated to join. Madhurima, would you like to? Sorry for putting you on the spot. How was your experience of? So please
Yeah. So I have joined consistently for a while, then I wasn't really consistent, but I'm trying to be consistent now. But when I was maybe doing it consistently, I really felt that I could get more done in the day than I was like a night person before. I used to get a lot of things done at night. I thought that that was the time of my productivity, but that I realized it's actually not. And you can actually get more done. And I always had this problem of having more lethargy during the day. So I realized that if I wake up early, that also has been like going down. So it helps you in a lot of aspects. And the main maybe some result you'll see like sooner is that you'll try to feel a bit calm eventually. And yeah, peaceful, so that your day goes well. And also Partha would be sharing a lot of quote of the day and motivational things, which might be some things you might actually need at that point. So it's a very engaging group and very fruitful as well. Yeah, hope you all join and maybe just at least try for a week and then see.
Thank you, Mary. So, Darshan is trying to put up the barcode if you would like to join the WhatsApp group. So he's going to put up one barcode for joining the group in general, and the other one is just specifically the meditation, the mantra meditation group. And if you join, then you would regularly receive a note that, okay, tomorrow morning, please get up. And I mean, I'll try to push you a little bit. So, but overall, I think those who had been participating and are being steady, they had actually personally expressed to me what they're getting out of it. So please do try. There's nothing to lose. The general benefit of joining this group is that we are actually having program every week, every Monday, same time, 7:30, same place. And what I'm doing this semester is giving a schematic overview of the Gita. So this is, you can think of my more than 20 years of all these distillation of the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. I'm trying to present in a manner with more pictures and less words. So if you would like to kind of dive into the message of the Bhagavad Gita in a manner that you don't lose the message, at the same time, take something for your own practice, at the same time, be motivated by the flow that is presented in a schematic form. So please try to come every Monday, 7:30. Next, interestingly, next Monday, we have another special guest speaker coming. He is actually expert in yoga, Ayurveda, and astrology. So if you want to know the science of all of these, don't miss the next week's session. His name is Yogi Nataraj. He's coming all the way from Las Vegas. So please try to join that yoga session as well, because he's going to lead the yoga session as well as he's going to talk about the science behind yoga, Ayurveda, and astrology. And then the week after, we're going to continue our journey with the schematic overview of the Gita. So I just wanted to acknowledge the food. How was the food? Okay. So it was coming from the local ISKCON Boston temple. And as I said, like, this is going to be the highlight food of this whole semester. Usually my wife and I take the responsibility for cooking, and we can't do this level of job that is done by so many skilled, devotees in the temple. So let's thank them with a round of applause. All right. So without any further ado, I really want to thank you for leaving behind whatever you were needing to do this evening and coming and attending this program. So thank you all very much, and see you next week.
Liz came up. So one of the highest points of divinity for me is the mantra of material thing. Right. Who's it? In the Gita where
You don't lose any material thing, you use everything for Christian service.
Ordinary world.
You don't use everything.
Is that how I, is that, did I interpret it wrong?
No, you're wrong. You use everything in the service, you are the provider of this. It's called interpret. Using everything in the service of. You don't lose anything. And then when you do that, you get so much of reward, you get so much of benefit. So you don't.
I was thinking like, where material objects run.
You need all of those.
Exactly.
You see, people dispute this